Hey everybody, it's Eric with What's in the Box, and we're continuing the Texas Horror Lit Fest interviews. And tonight we have, let me see, it's uh
Johnny.
Jonie Nikole, right?
Johnny.
Johnny Nikole.
Johnny. Yeah,
Okay, cool.
Johnny.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
spelled a little different. I got to try and figure
It
I
is.
right
Yes.
say
Yeah.
it out phonetically, and I would have got it right. But um, and you do. I was looking. It looks like it's kind of a gothic-y southern, I don't know, thrillers and horror kind of vibe.
Yeah. I when I first showed it, I thought it would be thrillers, and then all of a sudden it gets the first one, Hellfire and Holy Water, got tagged as a horror. So I was like, okay,
Yeah,
that's
right.
new.
Right. Yeah, I
Uh,
think it's
I
funny because
I don't know who determines that stuff. So
right. Yeah, Amazon's really odd with what they decide is, different genres and subgenres and stuff. So, and in my personal belief is everything is horror. So, everything can fall under that umbrella. So it's always good for me. So, um, but so the first question is the one that I think everyone will judge you on, and is that Freddie, Michael, or Jason?
uh for me,
Yes. Do you have a personal favorite, or who's the
Jason.
best?
I grew up on Jason. I like the first three the best. After that, I think they got a little crazy,
Yeah,
but
I
the
get
first
that.
three for me.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I'm a huge Jason's my favorite. So I
Yeah.
yeah, it's always the right answer. But a lot of people lean towards Freddie because they enjoy the sarcasm and the comedy that comes later on. Um,
I think
so
that one
of
was too twisted for me. I mean,
right.
like I love horror, but that one was, I don't know. It was not, I don't know. It's not my favorite.
When you take a step back, it's pretty horrific, all the things that the first one kind of entails. And when you look
Yeah.
at Freddie as a killer himself, I mean, he's a really bad dude. Um, so you said out of the Friday the 13th, your favorite are the first three.
Yeah. First three.
Yeah. Do you prefer hockey mask Jason or sack mask Jason?
Hockey mask.
Yeah.
I
Yeah, I
don't
thought
like the sack. That one got
I was just say the sack one's pretty creepy. That one's pretty intense, the second one. So
I don't know. I like the classic. To me, it just looks better.
yeah, it's a little cleaner look. And then as it goes on, they added enough to it to really kind of um jazz up the whole look of the hockey mask Jason. So um
Are they doing another one? I just read somewhere that they're working on another one.
yeah, they're going to do a TV show that focuses on the mom. I know that. And then I'm sure they'll jump into the franchise again. It's been a while since we've had a real Jason movie. So, um, did you ever
Jason
see the
Lives
remake? What were your
Patterson.
thoughts on the remake?
I have not seen the remake. Nope,
Okay.
I have not seen it.
Out
Uh,
of the three, I think it's
no.
probably the best. It really cuts through the
Really?
heart of Jason. Yeah, I think it's now the only thing
Okay.
that's funny is that they made the nudity kind of weird, and it's kind of uncomfortable, all of it. In fact, they've even had interviews where like the director and the producer were all kind of like, this is kind of maybe we did too much of it, because it just felt out of place filming it when they filmed it compared to like the early 80s when there was nudity and everything. And so
Everything had nudity. Yeah.
yeah, so they were trying to capture that vibe, but it really comes across as that's the thing that's kind of out of place in the remake. But the Jason and the killing and all that stuff, I think they actually did a really good job with it.
I'll have to look it up. Yeah, I haven't really watched a really good horror movie to me in a long time because it just kind of seemed like it just went off the rails.
Right.
More shock value than plot storyline.
Yeah, I can see that.
Just kind of
my wife's not a big horror fan, so we don't watch horror things. So if I want to
it
watch a
was
horror
a good
movie,
scary movie though.
if I want to watch it, I have to watch it by myself, and usually I don't spend time doing stuff like that. So I always joke when a movie comes out, I'm 5 years behind. So I'll see it in 5 years. Now, I had to see some movies recently, and I will say I really enjoyed Weapons. I thought Weapons was a pretty clever take, and it had some I would say scary moments. It was really well done, and I liked the non-linear storyline, the way they did it in the movie. So,
Yeah.
if you haven't seen Weapons, I would suggest that one as a movie that might be a little bit better than a lot of the stuff they've been putting out lately.
Yeah.
It's anti-Terrifier, because I think when you say shock value and no story, a lot of people kind of focus on Art the Clown and the Terrifier movies. Those seem to be super popular, but also they really don't seem to have much story going for them.
Yeah, I
So,
like a good story. I'm all for some blood and guts and mayhem, but I mean, we need a good story to go with it.
right. Yeah. And I think, and that sometimes is why thrillers and psychological, even serial killers and stuff like that, sometimes those kind of drift over into the horror realm, because you'll get that extra gore and stuff, but you do get a really good story, and a lot of people gravitate towards that. So, I know growing up, I never thought of Silence of the Lambs as a horror movie, but I noticed, over the last couple of years, a lot of people do think, oh, that's horror.
Hmm.
So, which I
Yeah,
got.
it's definitely gone into that way, but it's like I watched the new, or I can't say new, the remake of Carrie,
Mhm.
and I'm like sitting here thinking about, I'm like, man, this is like all the stuff in it because I remember watching Carrie, the first one, and then I go watch the first one. I'm like, oh man, that is way worse. I'm sitting here watching it with my child, thinking, man, this remake is terrible. Look at all this stuff
Yeah.
you can't watch this with a kid. And then I go and watch the original, and I'm like, oh, never mind. It was way worse,
Yeah. And I think
way
the
worse.
movies back then, they stand out because A, we were watching them at an age when you probably shouldn't have been watching them, but
Yep.
also, everything was so new and fresh. So it was more shocking, more surprising. And
Yeah.
then I think maybe we gloss over some of um, we forgive some of the lack of story on some of the earlier movies just because it was so cutting edge, because it was so new.
Yeah.
Um, so the next question: do you have a favorite creature or cryptid or something in that falls into that kind of realm?
Jeepers Creepers. I
Okay.
absolutely love him. He just I don't know, the one scene where he's like tapping on the glass and waving, and I'm just like, that is hilarious to me. I
Yeah,
just
I'm
think
a
he's
I'm a
great.
huge I'm a huge Creeper fan too. I think I know that there's controversy with the whole production. I know the director's a dirtbag, but it's a good movie,
I
and
think it
it's
I did too. You just sometimes you just have to be like, well, you know, you
yeah,
can't punish everybody because of one person. The
yeah,
cast, the crew, everybody involved.
yeah. They
It
put together a really good movie, and yeah, I think that monster is one of the best ones created over the last 20 years. It's a
Yeah.
most original idea, and just a fun creature feature. And it's unfortunate that they can't seem to get out of their own way and give us a new version that
Oh yeah, I was say
doesn't tie
when
it.
you make two, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it two's campy and silly, and it's fine, but it doesn't hold a candle to the first one. And
No,
then
it
after that,
doesn't.
all of them are just garbage. It seems like every time they try and remake it, they just don't understand what they've got to find one of these directors that grew up on some of like the early Universal stuff and maybe the
Mhm.
Hammer stuff, and focus and give us a better, a cleaner Jeepers Creepers idea. And maybe the problem is that the story is so singularly perfect in the first one that you can't duplicate it without just doing a straight remake of the first movie and just following, like, when they did Psycho, they remade Psycho's basically scene for scene, which is
Yeah.
unnecessary. But maybe that's the only way you can do Jeepers Creepers. Maybe they just haven't figured out. Nobody seems to have figured out a way to make that story continue. And part of it, I think, is that when the guy that created it, he wrote it in a way where he thought he could force the studio's hand not to do a sequel. And of course, they easily figured out you could just put the movie at a different time or at the same time as the first movie, and then you don't have to worry about it. So
Well,
they
there's
saw
always some kind of movie magic, right? You could
right.
some
You
voodoo
figure
or something
something.
that brings him back.
Yeah, and I wouldn't even mind if they just kill it all and start over and just give us a new script, and you can almost do the same kind of idea, follow
Yeah.
it that way. But yeah, no, and I think what makes the first one so fantastic is the dynamic of the main characters. Justin Long, and I'm blanking on the girl's name, but they both
Yeah, I
are,
remember.
doing the brother sister instead of giving us a traditional love interest, but having the dynamic of a sibling relationship
Yes.
really changes the whole idea of the horror movie, the being chased in a horror movie kind of trope, and it gives us
Yeah, I
so
like
many
it better.
different layers. So,
Yeah.
um,
Another one be good would be Children of the Corn. I would love a new Children of the Corn, just
yeah.
go back to just about the basics.
Yeah, and that one's been so long that I think you almost could redo the first one, or maybe make it a show like they do these like 8 episode things on Netflix.
Yep.
And you could really deep dive into those characters and the idea of Children of the Corn and really have a fun time with it. But yeah, no,
Especially
those
with the
are,
backstory.
yeah, you would,
Just the
yeah,
backstory alone.
yeah, would
Yeah.
be a fun deep dive and all that. So yeah, those are both great. Great movies, great ideas that need to be revisited, I think. You got my head spinning. We hadn't had Jeepers Creepers thrown on there. I love Jeepers Creepers. You knocked me off. Usually it's werewolves or vampires or Bigfoot or something, which is all perfectly great examples of good creature features and stuff. But I do love Jeepers Creepers. So
There you are.
final question. Is there a book or an author that kind of inspired you to do this, to want to be a writer or to write thrillers and maybe dip your toe in horror?
Um, well, I mean, I know a lot of people say it's cliche, but Edgar Allan Poe is my absolute favorite writer. I love Poe, and that is really what got me interested in writing. But then it's like I started reading, Stephen King was, well, VC Andrews was my very first.
Hmm.
I loved VC Andrews. She wrote just twisted books, but as you're like 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 reading VC Andrews, and now you look at it and you're like, oh, you should not have been reading that. Not, I wouldn't,
Yeah.
I wouldn't want my kids to read that at that age now that I'm an adult looking at it. But I got into VC Andrews and the twisted little stories. And then of course you get into, James Patterson. I love James Patterson, but I know he's not, a horror, but he writes thrillers. He writes
Hmm.
those kinds of things. And I honestly never thought I would be a writer. I just took a class because I had to, and I wrote a story about 10 years or so ago, 15 year to 15ish years. And it just sat forever. And then I retired and I'm like, okay, well, now what am I going to do with this? And so once I retired, it was kind of, well, I need something to do. And I just figured I'd do something with it. And it just kind of has taken off.
That's cool. Yeah, that's always awesome. And nothing better than the story in a drawer that finally gets to make its way out into the wild and people connect with
Yeah.
it and kind of give you an idea that maybe you were on a path even if you didn't realize it at the time. Um, I had a couple like that when I was younger working. I would write all the time, but it was never because I thought I was going to write and produce stuff. I just like to write, and everything went into a drawer, and then I never looked at it again or whatever. And then years
Yeah.
later, kind of had the same thing that you did, just like, oh, maybe I should do something with some of this stuff. So, um, I think that's funny. I've done 2 interviews today, and both of y'all have said Poe as your first, and then you gave other examples. But I just thought that was cool that Poe is getting some love because it's you'll run into a ton of people and nobody will mention Poe, and then all of a sudden you'll hit the right vein and everybody loves Poe, as an
Oh,
inspiration.
I've always loved, I would like Hemingway too. And it's like you read his stuff and he's like, you read Hemingway. And I'm like, of course. I mean, I loved Hemingway. You know, I thought he was great. It's interesting. I actually just read one of his books and probably 400 words into it is just one long sentence. There's
Right?
like no punctuation,
Yeah.
no nothing. And I'm just like, wow.
It's always interesting to read the great ones that don't follow any of the rules to remind you that sometimes you don't need to follow the rules, as
Yeah,
long
I
as
get
you
that a
know they're
lot with
there.
mine. Yeah, I get that a lot. One of my books is one of the reviews was like misused words and whatever. I'm like, you obviously are not from the South. That's the whole point. Words
Right,
get used for things that don't even make no sense.
right, right. Yeah. Yeah, especially yeah, Southern Gothic's gonna have some really
Yeah.
interesting turn of phrases and stuff. So on the Poe front, what's your favorite Poe story? or do you
Well,
have?
I know a lot of people are always like the Raven, but for me, I like the Pale story is my favorite. And
Okay.
then they adapted into a movie with the one guy. God, I can't even think of his name. He did. Oh, they just did it. They just did it into a movie or a TV show, a little mini series, and it was so good.
Oh,
Oh, I can't think of his name.
the Michael, was it Flanagan?
Yeah, he's the one who directed it, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's the
but
guy that
I can't
comes
think of the
up.
actor who did it. He did not 300, but Gladiator? No, not Gladiator.
Um,
A
I know.
Knight's Tale, maybe? I think he was the bad guy in A Knight's Tale. I think
Okay,
he
yeah,
did it.
yeah. So again, this came out too soon for me to have watched it. Need five
Yeah,
more
then
years before I
it's
get to
good.
it. But I know what you're talking about. Yeah, there was a thing on Netflix, and it was a lot of tips of the cap to Poe. Was it The Fall of the House of Usher? Was that the name of the whole series?
Mhm.
Yeah,
The Usher one, that was a really good series. I was kind of, I wasn't sure I was going to like it, but then it turned out to be pretty good. I was like,
yeah.
all right.
I grew up on the Vincent Price versions of all those stories, and even though most of them aren't following Poe's work, it's usually just the title. But that's my wheelhouse. Those are the movies I grew up on loving and stuff. So, um, but that's cool. The Pale is the one that you said that was your favorite.
Yeah. Um, there was another one it was an essay that I read. I can't think of the title of it. It was an essay though, but it really wasn't
Hmm.
a story. It was just and I really liked it too. And I just happened to come across it. It was just something random. I was like, I didn't even know it existed. And it had
Yeah, there's a
Poe's
lot
name
of
on it.
interesting Poe stuff out there. He would do anything to that he anything that would pay him and he could write about if he had a passion for it. I know he dove into it. So be it essays or poetry or short stories or anything like that. So um and then Patterson. That's are you a big fan of the Alex Cross series or is one of the
I
other things he
am, but
does?
it's weird. My actually favorite book of his, and he is a co-writer on it with Candace Fox, I think her name is, and it's the Postcard Killers.
Okay.
The book is so good. It was actually written in like Sweden or Denmark or something like that. And then it came to the US and he kind of co-wrote it, rewrote it or something, and then like made it into this. It just blew up. And then they made a movie out of it
Okay.
and they changed the movie a little bit. And I
Like
was
they
like,
always
yeah.
do. They
And
always
I'm
do.
like, but the book was so twisted. You're just like, wow. The Postcard Killers is my absolute James Patterson favorite book. But a
Okay.
woman wrote it, and he just, you know,
They kind
kind
of
of
adapted it and then they used his
adapted it.
name to
Yep.
get it in front of people, which is cool. I think that's cool that he does that. If he finds something he
Yeah.
really likes and he wants to get it in front of people's names, he will do that co-writing kind of situation where
Yeah.
you don't
It's a
know how
great
much.
book. Yeah.
All right, very cool.
Yeah. He's one of my favorite. Yeah. The Alex Cross ones are good. I mean, I can't say that they're not. Haven't found one that I haven't liked and read them all. But yeah, Postcard Killers is probably my absolute favorite. And then he's got another series like it's the Two Sister Detective Agency. And it is so funny because when I'm reading it, all I picture is Lizzo, is
Oh
this
yeah.
character. I think
Okay.
it's just so great. Like the way they wrote her personality and everything. Because a lot of times he doesn't write a whole lot of depth of the person,
Hmm.
but with her, just he even like describes her. He's not much into like over cinematography in his writing. And so when he's actually like giving these characters depth of what their clothes look like, what their hair looks like, what their body shape is, it's just like, oh, he really is getting into this character.
Yeah,
Because a
yeah,
lot of
he
time
is
he doesn't really
definitely
do
bare
that.
bones. Yeah, he leaves it up to the reader most of the time.
Yeah, he
Um,
keeps it very simple.
which is probably why he can pump out so many books. Because he's
Yeah,
just
leaves a
flying
lot to
by.
the imagination.
Yeah, for sure. Speaking of books, do you have anything you want to show us that you might have at your table at the event?
Oh, yeah, hang on. This one,
Okay,
When
cool.
We Were Four. Yeah,
Is that the
this
one
one's
that
about, huh?
yeah, let me know what it's about. Yeah, I was just about to ask a
Well,
question.
this one is my newest one,
Okay.
and it is about four sisters that have to return home. Their mother is murdered, and they're all suspects. And they're doing everything they can to kind of cover for each other because they
Hmm.
each think that they know one of them did it. They
Right.
just don't know who. And so it's just getting through that. The reviews are good. It's doing very well. So I'm pretty excited about that. But that's my new one. It came out in February.
Oh, that's
And
awesome.
then the one we were talking about for this one is the Hellfire and Holy Water,
Hmm.
the Seven Deadly Sins. And it came out last year. Well, yeah,
Yeah, that one looks
February of
really
last year.
interesting. I was checking it out on Amazon. So, and
Yeah,
that,
it's actually, I signed a contract a couple weeks ago, got in contact with a producer about it. So I'm
oh,
pretty
very
excited
cool.
about it. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
exciting news. Very
Because
cool.
yeah, it's gotten so much controversy at first, with how it came out. And yeah, it was a mess. But hopefully they re did like a re-releasing it, pull
Hmm.
it, and then re-releasing it. So hopefully it'll get back on track and do well. But yeah, it's doing good.
Very cool.
It's my favorite one of the two, but we'll see
Okay.
how it goes out. Yeah.
Well, they both sound very interesting. They both seem like they're both take place in the South, right?
Oh yes. Well, yeah, I'm from the South. I lived in Alaska for about 30 years, but I grew up in the South. So when I retired and my husband took a job this side of the world,
Hmm.
you know. So yeah, I'm from the South. So I'm trying to write everything to stay in the South just because got to give it a little bit of love. Seems like
Right.
everything is in the big cities. It's like, no, I
Yeah, I
gotta
think that too.
try.
And I find the South to have way more terrifying settings than, some generic big city kind of thing. Although
Yeah.
Alaska would have a ton of great
There's a whole
places.
lot of places that had a whole lot of bodies.
Yeah, yeah. My mom remarried and we went from Panama and I came to Texas, but they went to Alaska. So I've been to Alaska a few
Okay.
times to visit, and yeah, it's a stark difference from the South. So it's kind of an
Yes.
interesting place, but they both have a lot of great um foundations for horror. You could really do a lot with.
Oh, 30 Days of Night.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's
I thought
probably.
they did such a good job on that one. And people are like, oh my God, that was a terrible movie. I loved it. I thought they did great. And to think about it, I mean, that town really does go dark for
Mhm.
30 plus days every winter, sometimes 60 days, depending on where you are in the region. And so, yeah, I mean, that would be a vampire's like dream.
Yeah.
I think they did a great job on that.
And I think that works because they made the vampires so horrific and more
Mhm.
monstrous and kind of more less classic vampire and more kind of just like eating machines. And I think
Yeah.
that ramped up the terror too, because you're just not dealing with anything that they've seen before. So
Yeah, I thought that was great. I loved 30 Days a Night. I thought it was fantastic because yeah, the whole storyline. I mean, that would be like perfect. But to me, it kind of still had an old school feel to it, even though they kind of modernized the monsters a little bit,
mhm.
but it still had that feel to it to me where they didn't over,
Yeah, for sure.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think because they were speaking that old language, so they're speaking like, what sounded like Russian or whatever, but it was like some sort of ancient vampire language. It really, I mean, in my mind, I would love to have had a movie that kind of explained their origins
Yes.
and watch them, however long ago, kind of figuring out that there's a place in Alaska they could go feed and, just be in that town the whole
Yeah.
time. But yeah, no, I think I agree. It's one of the few. I'm not a huge vampire guy, so there's a handful of them from the '80s that I really like, and then I do like the Blade series, and then
Yeah. Blade's
30
a good
Days a
one.
Night. So, um,
Yep.
what are you working on anything else?
Yeah. Hellfire and Holy Water will get a second book just because when I actually originally wrote this one, it was being picked up by one of the publishers was looking at it, but they wanted a different ending. So I changed the ending and then decided to just stay independent. And so I'm like, well, I've already changed the ending, so now I've got to, at
Hmm.
least have a second book on that. And then I'll have another book called He Earned It come out, and then another book, Ava Mercer. So both of those all be coming out,
Oh,
in the
sweet.
next at least 3 years. So yeah,
Right. Yeah. I
all the
mean, we're
little
always,
projects working on,
yeah,
always writing on something.
right. Never ends. There's
Yeah,
always something going on. Some stage of development, you got something going on.
yeah.
So,
Something's always happening.
well, everybody, this is again about the Texas Horror Lit Fest. And so that is June 27th, 28th. It's 10 to 6 both days. Come out and see us and check out all the wonderful authors that are going to be doing horror, science fiction, fantasy, thrillers. I know there's going to be some romances and comedies that kind of flitter with the other genres, so you'll get a lot of different subgenres to check out. It's a free event, but if you sign up for a ticket, let us know you're coming. You can enter a raffle, and hopefully we'll see you there.
Yes, lots of door prizes, I heard.
Yeah,
I'm
so a lot of cool
excited.
things, and there'll be some fun panels, and then of course there's all the great authors. And so, my big thing is, go around and meet everybody and check out all the different books, and you're gonna find your next favorite book. I guarantee it. There's so many cool things there. So, hopefully we'll see everybody out there, and thanks for jumping on.
Thank
Take it
you.
easy.